Hi everyone, this is Jove, and this is for deployed caffeine. And this time we invite Kris, the other FDE in Cresta. Hi Kris, how are you doing?
How's it going? How's it going? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, in case people don't know, right now is 4 p.m.-ish Friday. So we have a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, a lot of PR reviews every single day. And that's the only time we can find to have some podcast time. But again, this is for the caffeine, so I bring the coffee. I guess you don't drink coffee, right? What do you have today?
Don't drink coffee, so I brought nature's caffeine, plant powered
Okay.
brew, yerba, mint flavored. So cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, it can be even stronger than regular latte, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it says 150 milligrams of caffeine, so I might be beating out the coffee drinkers with this one.
Okay. Yeah. And also I also bring that this Meta AI glasses, the same, I guess, same model with you. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff we really share, a lot of passion or interest common together. People may not know that is Kris. Actually, I'm not sure if I shared to other that is you are actually the first hire for me as a manager as FDE, because when I joined, Anthony joined the following week and Hanser joined, but they are interviewed by other folks. And I'm lucky enough to be one of your hiring manager in that process. And I think something really impressed me that is you list, of course, whether you list your social account on your resume, or maybe we figure out that is you are actually doing some very cool video on TikTok or Instagram. Maybe we can start on there. Right? What do you do? What kind of content you produce on those social medias?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of a coincidence, honestly. I don't really advertise it on my resume or anything like that. But yeah, I post AI video, AI content on TikTok and Instagram pretty consistently. And a lot of it's focused around like the consumer products like ChatGPT prompts, Claude code setups, Claude cowork. And it's gotten quite large over the last couple of months. But when we spoke, this was during the interview, and I think it just kind of came up naturally. And I didn't see. I wasn't the smarter of the candidates. I didn't do my research beforehand, so I didn't know how active you were on LinkedIn, and so it kind of just came up naturally in conversation. And I think literally on the spot during the interview, we pulled up my TikTok page and started going through it, which was crazy, a crazy experience. But yeah, that's kind of how we got introduced to it, and obviously we've connected on that front ever since.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's a huge bonus, but at least it's not a red flag, right? So you spend some effort sharing a lesson learned or AI, you have your own target audience, doing some social media. I guess I also using that to introduce you to the team when you join us officially. So I'm so glad
Yeah.
you joined us as a FDE. It's been a while, and you work on quite a lot of different projects, especially on the insurance related use cases. Maybe we can also talk about that. And you also using AI in a very unique way. And I guess you also might have other conventional or unconventional opinions. That's the way we can discuss. And some of
Yeah.
our future FDE candidates actually watching such episodes to understand they don't have to listen to me, but sometimes they want to get extra data points. What's the actual FDE doing every single day? What's their opinion? So yeah, there's no really right or wrong answers. Just share whatever you want to share. So maybe we can start from the insurance part. What is the special part? I guess you work on a few insurance related projects. Are they really special? Are they just happen to be the AI agents required by those companies? The companies happen to be in the insurance business.
Yeah, I think insurance is an interesting use case. So I mainly work on insurance related use cases and financial related use cases. With insurance specifically, I think it's interesting because you do end up working with a lot of like healthcare, Medicare, insurance providers, and the typical archetype of somebody that calls insurance providers, regardless of the work of what the use case is are typically like older people, right? So these are like older, a lot less privy to how AI works or how it functions. And so it becomes much more important in those cases to ensure that the conversation and the AI agent design accommodates that. Right. So even things like accounting for transcription issues, right? Like we have some of the best ASR models, speech to text models on the market, but if a older gentleman is talking slow and quietly, it's still going to be very difficult for these ASR models to transcribe this information, right? So even accounting for the fact that they're older people allows us to be much more fluent and much more careful with our AI agent design, right? And so even including things like confirmations and like repeating information, like this is all things that we bake into the personality of this AI agent, knowing that the archetype or the caller demographic is largely older generation. It's weird nuances like that that you kind of pull out of having done it so many times. Right? Like it's not something that you would even think about going into your first AI agent build. But after a few times, it definitely becomes a lot more evident. And I think that's also why verticalization is so important, right? Whenever you're able to like really stick to these verticals of like, hey, we're doing healthcare, or like these people are doing healthcare, these people are doing finance, these people are doing airlines, whatever it may be, right? You're able to pick out some of those nuances and really get good at those particular use cases.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess even because of the people who rely on insurance program, they might be in a in quite the elder person. So even they are more comfortable to make a phone calls rather than using a mobile app or using a web browser, right? They may not own a MacBook, or they don't want to use the iPhone. That the everything is so small, tiny.
Yeah.
So they will be very naturally make a phone call. In the past, they might hit a human agent before after hearing a lot of message or music. Now our AI agent can talk to those person, like get those insurance status check or have any question answered. But I mean, that interface itself is quite friendly to them, right? But you also mentioned that they might have, I'm not sure whether you have to like adjust the speed to speak a little bit slower or in different ways. Or also you mentioned the ASR, the way we turn their voice to be text. That might be something special way to handle, to making sure if they talk too slow, we don't like have any conversation, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, right? Like these older, like I still remember when there were landlines, right? Like people would naturally call other people, and that's kind of how some of this generation grew up. So while for us, not only do we maybe not care as much for insurance because we're young and we're healthy, but also we're much more web-based. We're much more digital. We're not going to sit here and try to call a health insurance provider and sit on the phone for what could be potentially 5, 10, 20 minutes in order to get service done when we could do it online. So there's that huge difference. And then everything of what you're saying goes back to that design of confirmation, understanding that you know LLMs like to take shortcuts sometimes, right? So you instructing it that when there's errors or when there's transcription issues, it's rooted in the fact that this is an older person and our ASR might not be picking it up as much, and we have a whole wide array of voice specific rules that we apply to these AI agents, right? That dictate how things are said, at what pace, in like adding breaks, adding tones, adding certain syncopes, like all these things that we're able to configure within the behavior and the response structures of the AI agents all just feed into that experience.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I don't be the person. I mean, but I guess sometimes when I talk to my grandpa or grandma, they might be chatty. Is that the case for your client as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's even funny because a lot of them can't tell it's AI, and that's the crazy thing. And I know it's like a thing that is spoken about on the internet. Like older people are getting tricked by AI, and there's some negative things that come with that. But a lot of times, yeah, they're sitting on the phone with an AI agent that we built. And it's like, hey, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. You've been amazing. Have a great day. Like, interacting with it as if it were human. And I think that's not only a testament to how older folks are viewing the AI agents, but it's also a testament to how we're designing the AI agents, right? And really making sure that customer experience still feels human, right? Still feels human, but is also efficient and super well designed, well constructed in order to really make those interactions beneficial for everybody.
Yeah. Again, every single AI agent, the starting of the conversation will say, yeah, welcome to XYZ Insurance. This is my name is Mary or Joe, virtual assistant for this company. So we make this very clear at the very beginning. But as you mentioned, that is some of the elder folks, they so enjoy this conversation, and also they just treat you, oh, you are not really that robotic. And also maybe because they are how they educated, how they live in the past. I mean, they are I'm not sure the decent is the right word. That is, they are being very used to be polite, to be friendly, right? So, I mean, those are very decent person, right? So, also you might know that is some of the research saying that if you're being very friendly to the AI, there's a neural network can activate a certain area, and that kind of emotion even can give you a better performance. I'm not sure whether that's true or
Really?
not.
I don't know if that's true. I've heard the opposite. I've heard that you need to like guilt trip, like you need to like threaten the AI models in order to get the right responses out
Yeah,
of it.
but
Like,
again, if you see those are some of the paper published by Anthropic, if you do a lot of add a lot of pressure, I mean the AI may take a more shortcut under pressure. But
yeah,
anyway, it's a fun story. But anyway, I'm so glad you have a quite interesting experience working with such kind of use cases. But for the insurance, do you think there will be other challenges such as, I'm not sure, say the certain words, it's mathematical background, and maybe the policy is, I guess we don't really have enough flexibility to explain the policy, right? So it can easily can go wrong. But AIM itself is not a repeated machine, so you cannot really have AIM to creatively rephrase things. I guess in some cases, maybe the insurance company want us to reiterate certain things in a certain way. Is that the case? Is that a conflict regarding being natural and also compliant to what their insurance policy is?
yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings in this point of like how we think about generative or predictive and deterministic, right? So there are two dimensions on which we operate whenever we build AI agents, and it's really important to understand like where certain behaviors and certain actions need to lie. So a lot of times there is like you have your behavioral aspect, which is more on the generative side, right? Like the personalities and the pacing and delivery. But then there's also certain more fixed structured things that need to be included, and that falls more in the deterministic side of things, right? Like if we're speaking to, for example, different providers or different members in different states, there's certain verbiage or certain actions that these AI agents need to take that vary depending on compliance, regulation, right? At the state, at the federal, at the local level. So it's very important for us to not only understand the overall behavior that the AI agent needs to perform, but then also how does that vary from case to case, and being able to make that a little bit more deterministic while still flowing and weaving into the more deterministic generative aspects of it, right? Because at the end of the day, whatever we do, it's all going to get sent off to an LLM to generate a response anyway, right? So being able to properly manage how we add and subtract from this context, right, as the interaction goes on and as certain use cases emerge and certain behaviors emerge is very important in healthcare specifically because of those reasons.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of details. And you also mentioned you work on finance or bank related use cases. They might share some similarity as the insurance regarding working with a bank or company lending monies. For example, I guess one term immediately pop up in my mind, which is PCI, the payment card, the regulation. I mean, give us some wow about or wow about PCI and how this relates to the AI agents.
Yeah, you said it. The hardest part is PCI, and anybody that's tried to do financial use cases will tell you the hardest part is PCI. Thankfully, we're obviously PCI compliant, but just getting to PCI compliance is already a challenge, and then adhering to it is a whole nother barrier, right? Like we're talking not being able to retain any information, tracing, like telemetry pretty much turns into a black box when it comes to certain agent aspects, and so being able to build and design in what is essentially a vacuum when you have PCI compliance enabled for your agents is a challenge in its own right, and it definitely requires a little bit of finesse, a little bit of technique. But I think we've set forward a lot of great patterns and a lot of great frameworks that allow us to do so effectively. Right. So we've laid foundation for a lot of these PCI use cases already that has allowed us to do those kinds of things while still remaining PCI compliant and being able to deliver those use cases very effectively.
Yeah, but I mean, even take one step back. So, what is, say, top three thing you should do as for be PCI compliant, and what's the top three you never should be doing if you want to get PCI compliant? So that can be give us the context. Why this will impact our like telemetry or the observability or any kind of function tool calls or agent designs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not gonna, sit here and say I know the full scope of the regulation behind it, but obviously there's the majority of PCI compliance is related to card information, right? So when you think about card information, that's your typical 16-digit zips, CVVs, all this kind of information. That also includes things like OTP codes, verification steps, things like that. So everything that's involved in going from beginning to end of making a payment over the phone needs to be super, super tight in terms of the data and how and where it's stored, where it's retained, where it flows. And obviously when you have those limitations, it does create a lot of bottlenecks in terms of what you're able to see when you're actually building.
Yeah, so let's dig into some of the details. You mentioned the OPT. I guess this is a one-time passcode stuff, right? You send to your phone, confirm, yeah, you're about to wire money or transfer money from A to B. I mean, what is the requirement needed to handle the OPT, the one-time passcode, differently if there's not a PCI requirement?
Yeah, so with OTP specifically, there's a few hard rules. One of those being that obviously it can't be logged, right? The OTP codes can't be logged, can't be retained. The biggest thing is that they're single transaction codes. So if the code doesn't work the first time, you have to send another. Like there's another code that needs to be used. Once a code is used once, it essentially expires. Right. And so there's the whole idea of like retries or wanting to do other transactions or other, human behavior, user interaction can be random, right? A person can make a payment, they decide they want to make another payment and go back into the payment flows and different things like that. So the biggest thing is that these are extremely stateless, meaning, single transactions, you can only use them once. And we have to be super careful about where that data shows up, which is pretty much nowhere, right? Like it can't be retained. As it makes its way from the user input, it goes directly through the API calls and none of it actually touches any type of state or any type of logging on our sides.
Yeah, so which system generated OPT? Is that us, Cresta, generated OPT, or we issue an API for the bank to generate the OPT to their client? Tell me more. I mean, I guess maybe different bank or different company may doing things differently, but what is more common process?
The most common process is that comes directly from the banks. I don't know if the banks would trust if we started generating our own OTP codes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, the banks have from what I understand, like I said, I'm no expert. Banks have a very intricate process regarding like 3DS and all the types of like verification and security that even defines like how they generate these OTP codes, right? So all that flows through bank APIs, banking APIs. There's a lot of backend infrastructure that's layered on top of just generating those SIG-digit codes that we don't even see and we don't know about. So yeah, it definitely relies on a lot of those foundational APIs in order for us to deliver that use case.
Well, so but say as a caller, make a phone call to that number and hit the AI agent built by Cresta and say, I wanted to say remove my current credit card. I want to add a new credit card. And because this is sensitive information, the bank want to, hey, I need to confirm whether you are the person you claim to be. I will send you a OTP one-time code. So what's the process? Are they going to read out the code to us and confirm this is the same one the bank is generating?
Yeah, so we don't confirm. We obviously can't confirm the codes because that would infer that we're retaining that information. But the way that we're able to take it is either through voice or DTMF, right? So obviously we support DTMF, which is like your typical keypad entry, and then those inputs flow directly back into the APIs for whatever operations need to happen. So it's essentially like a key that allows you to unlock this capability within the bank systems, right? So this API serves as like the entry code. You get the code, and then that's your key in order to add another credit card, make a payment, change a due date, whatever functionality may be downstream.
Okay, so let's make this concrete. So if we decided there's a chance we should send the code to the customer, and then we call our Cresta AI agent call API so that the bank will send the 6-digit code to the person using their registered phone number, and they can choose to share that phone number using DTMF, which is the keyboard on the phone. And if we get those numbers, there's a 6-digit numbers. We don't save them in our LLM, but we immediately pass back to the API. Is that the case? That is, we get it through the channel because this is DTMF. This is a telephony system, right? We can get that 6 number, but it is in a temporary memory, and we don't pass to our LLM. It immediately send back to the API call, making sure this is right or not. Or even people get to the 6-digit, say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and they read out. And we have our own ASR model deployed in our own GPU, right? So it's not in random vendor's system. It's fully PCI compliant. So our ASR model, the automatic speech recognition system, can get those 6 digits in a PCI compliant way, and then we still save in our short-term memory. We pass to the API, and when we finish that transaction, we forgot that short-term memories. Nothing is in the log. Nothing is sent to OpenAI or Anthropic.
Exactly. You hit it. I mean, you broke it down perfectly, right? And all
Yeah,
that
I mean,
comes
so, yeah,
out.
even such something you think, oh, that's so simple, but in the process, there might be 5, 10 different servers in the middle, and every single component need to be do the things in a super restricted way. Cannot cross the line about the PCI. Otherwise, even one piece is wrong, the entire process doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And any one of those pieces could leak the data, which would bring us out of compliance, right? So it's super high stakes, super intricate systems, and it's a lot more complicated than even though the interaction may seem smooth, there's a lot of moving pieces there.
Yeah. So again, PCI is just one of the reasons why many enterprise customers come to us, right? So it is boring. It is tough because it makes our life difficult. Like, for example, the debugging or understanding building report, but that's the right price. I mean, you don't want a random vendor get all your credit card numbers, right? Or even potentially their employee can see your temporary code. If in case someone within that, say 15 minutes, do something bad, that will be terrible. So the idea that is only you as the person and the system temporarily can know this, no one else. Wow, that's a lot of details regarding PCI. I'm glad we have a lot of system and we have a lot of experience reading that. I guess you also a big fan of, I guess almost everyone in the FDE team are big fan of the test evals. Yeah, show me more about that. I mean, what's your take on that? How much effort we should put into it? In which cases it can go wrong? What is enough? What is not enough?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's great that you bring that up because it's, in my opinion, I think evals are everything. I think the AI agent doesn't, you don't get an AI agent without the evals, right? Those are arguably more important than the actual AI agent build itself. It's like the rubric, right? Like the evals are the rubric. The evals are the test, and that's kind of how we are able to tell whether an AI agent is doing what it's supposed to do or not. So it's super important, and we spend a lot of time, way more time than we spend actually designing the agent, building out those eval sets to ensure that everything that the AI agent does and how it behaves is fully aligned with not only the guardrails and the context and all the systems designs, but then also the business rules, right? Like whenever we talk to a customer, they'll have use cases, they'll have certain rules that we need to align the AI agent on as well. And this varies from customer to customer. So a lot of time, like to go from discovery, to go from like a kickoff to discovery to conversation design to eval generation, eval set adherence reporting, like that's 90% of the journey. And then once you cross that 90%, then it's like, okay, now we're ready to build this AI agent, right? And so that's the full, like a general top-down view of like what the life cycle of AI agent build even looks like. And good evals make a good AI agent, and good evals are a result of good discovery. And that's why I feel like the whole process of even being an FD and building AI agents is still very human, right? Like there's still a large human aspect of it because the majority of our time is literally spent just talking to the customer and understanding those business use cases and understanding what requirements actually need to be captured in the AI agent build and design.
Yeah, but again, people who may not work as FD might get confused why test eval is so important. And there's no really a universal or open standard regarding test eval. Right? Can you share more about what's the typical effort to build a test eval, how this executed, how this iterated, how to even can we version control it, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of breaks down in like three different parts. There's your initial like test sets, and these are, fully defined based on situations and simulations that the AI agent will have to deal with, right, in production and when it's live. Depending on the use case, it could be anything from your typical interactions that we call happy path, or it could be a bunch of different edge cases, right? Like, what if the user does this? What if the behavior is this? And these all serve to map out a full test set of different simulations that we run. And then underneath those test sets, we have what are evals, and these are built based on like what's in these interactions, what's components and what behaviors do we expect the AI agent to exhibit every single time, right? Regardless of whether it's an edge case or a happy path or the user does this and then goes back and does this, we know and we understand foundationally, here's how this agent is supposed to behave across this conversation. And that serves as the groundwork for building out our eval set. Right. So we'll have our from that initial design, from that initial discovery phase, we'll create this long list of essentially requirements that define exactly what the AI agent needs to do. And the way we do it is obviously we'll have our test simulators, we'll have our LM judges, we'll run all that through other AI models that score and capture those requirements. And then the way that we'll version those out is obviously through the process of which we also iterate on the agent. So we'll make our change, if it impacts a certain eval or impacts a certain requirement, we adjust that requirement. We'll add new evals and new requirements under that hood. And then every time a new change goes in, it gets rerun and it fuels this loop of like building, evaluating, dating, building, evaluating, dating, and so that's kind of like the overall and the high level process of kind of how we approach that. And it always starts with the evals though. It always starts with the evals. No groundwork can be laid until those evals and those test sets are fully fleshed out.
Okay. And how to version control it? Do we just package them as a zip, SSD, or?
There's been a few different strategies, right? Everybody's doing it a little bit differently. The way we like to do is obviously we like to have, schematics, right? We like to define these test sets and these evals as schemas that are a lot easier to version control versus just like, sparse text or whatever that exists on some spreadsheet somewhere in the Google Drive universe. So we like to convert all our test sets and all our evals into schematics that define inputs, outputs, prompts, variables, whatever pieces are needed for a test or an eval to be ran. And then we're able to version those the same way you would version a YAML file or some other config, right? Being able to make those changes iteratively and keep running those in a loop.
Yeah, and it sounds not too hard, right? I mean, doesn't really require any CS background or like Python background. Do you think anyone can do that, or what else you think is required to be a good FDE as you?
I mean, I would say I'm still getting there, but I do, I do believe if we're not there yet, I think we're going to get there soon. I do believe that a lot of this work, because it's so human, can be largely done by a non-technical person. Like I know the typical path for an FDE is to, have been a software engineer, have been some technical role somewhere else. But I do firmly believe that as these AI models, especially, the Claude and the Codex, get so much better at the execution level, at the execution step, that the majority of the work really does become that 90%, which all that requires is just understanding how to problem solve, critical thinking, and being sociable enough to be able to talk to customers and pull out the information that you need in order to fuel good discovery and good evals, right? So that part is still largely human, and that's why I feel like that part, I mean, you don't need to be an engineer to do that, right? Like you can be somebody that just knows how to solve problems well, knows how to work with AI well, and knows how to talk to people, right? I don't think that's something that has to be gate kept or restricted to just highly technical people. I think we'll see a lot more of this role evolve in a way where like a product manager or someone that just does like customer engineering, or even sales folks are able to sit down and really start collecting these requirements and fleshing out what is the 90% of an AI agent build, leaving the other 10% to, you know, your favorite coding agent, Codex, Claude, whichever one you like most.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure whether I fully agree with you, but I guess everyone should be open-minded because we really don't know how the world will be in 2 or 5 years later on, right? So everything moves so fast. I guess also people asking like, hey, if the entire, say, the cloud code is written by cloud code, and those engineers in Anthropic, they just let AI build those code. But why there are still like 2,000 more engineers in Anthropic? Maybe they are just making designs. Whether that design can be done by AI without someone with a CS background or a lot of programming. I mean, honestly, we don't really know because everything moves so fast.
Yeah.
I guess today maybe even that's 10% or 20% require some programming knowledge, but that part is still more like something we have to invest. I mean, we cannot really fully trust someone always doing a sales work. They suddenly can build a super solid enterprise-ready AI agent because maybe that 10% do require, they don't know what they don't know, right? So needed to consult engineer like us. But maybe that part will be from 10% to 5%, maybe it will be zero in 2-3 years.
And I think that's part of the work right now, right? Like there's two layers to it, and I think this kind of ties back to a little bit. This is just a theory, right? I don't know what the Anthropic is doing. I don't know what they're thinking, but there's two. I think when you're building AI native and you're building AI forward, there's two layers in which you're operating. You're operating on the work that needs to be done. And for us, that's AI agent deployments, right? Like we go out, we build AI agents, we deploy them. And then there's work that's defining the future of work, right? So when we think about different capabilities, when we think about building skills and building these memory banks and these context layers that allow LLMs and AI agents to work more seamlessly within our workflows, that's a whole nother aspect to the work that's super important. Like just as much as we need to focus on what we're doing now, which is AI agent deployments, we also spend a lot of time working on what is it going to look like 3 months from now? What is it going to look like 6 months from now? And building out those roads. And essentially, we're like explorers in the AI era, right? Like in this AI age, we're the explorers. Like the AI engineers and the more technical people have to go out and pave these roads and make them flat and make them well-rounded so that non-technical people can follow suit, right? And so that's where I think that's where things, you know, Anthropic and even us, right? We're hiring more and more people because we need people to lay down those roads, and we need people to make the way for that intelligence layer and that context layer that LLMs, Claude, Code, Codex can use in order to do our jobs more effectively.
Yeah, and also this also trigger the other thought, that is the other thing, that is you should not build your product based on the current capability of the models, right? So there's a theory, I'm not sure how true it is, that you should design a software for the model 4 months, 6 months later, because whatever is broken today can be working in 3 or 5 months. But again, that's also kind of tricky, because if everyone is building something in the future, so they have a broken system today, right? That's actually, I guess, one of the reasons why FDE exists, because even we have a lot of nice model, lot of nice voice, even the customer can share their knowledge base, share their SOP, but there's still a lot of effort to make them together as a working enterprise-ready solution, right? So it's almost there, but not fully there. I mean, at least you cannot just dump everything together and let AI build the AI for you. I mean, FDE put them together, and we have to figure out what is working, what is not working, have some like fix, have some extra features to make things work. And maybe what we are working on today don't need to be any manual efforts 4 or 5 months later. Maybe that part will be automatically solved. For example, say today we might have to worry a little bit about context engineering or compaction. Maybe five months later, everything is auto compact, and also in the compact in a meaningful way. Then we have minimal effort regarding this context engineering, but we will be working on something else. There's always new problem we can solve, and because the world today is not perfect, and because it's not perfect, that FDE can fill in the gap and finish the last mile, and maybe that missing piece will be complete in 5 or 6 months later, but there will be new problems because we're expanding our use cases. Yeah, maybe one day our FDE are not really so focusing on the voice. Maybe we will be debugging how to working with a human robot or how to like send an agent to the moon.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, so I just moved to San Francisco from Atlanta. So that's been a new development in my life. But being here and seeing kind of the things that people were working on, like the founders and all the AI native companies, you kind of see that, right? Like you kind of see a lot of the companies are the companies that are thriving and are doing well, the companies that are able to do both, right? They're able to manage doing the now and doing the things that need to get done in order to service clients and build for customers while also laying down the pipelines and the groundwork for a future where, yeah, we'll probably put AI agents on the moon, right? Where context becomes less important, where, these incremental developments that are happening so fast are going to change. And it's so important to keep laying down that work and keep being that explorer in AI and in this industry. So being an SF has really painted a clear image for me in terms of that. Like, and I think that's what Cresta does well, also, right? Like we also are able to strike that really good balance of like bringing customers value and delivering AI agents super well while also laying down groundwork and being those explorers and pushing the bounds of what it means to build, design, and iterate on good AI agents and AI technology.
Yeah. Again, I know a lot of people like you and me are very passionate about AI knowledge. We spend some time reading a blog, try new tools, different models, and it seems to be very easy for you to try like by yourself in the night, in the weekend. But also really hard is to get the feedback, right? You can build something, but if you are not lucky, you are just acting as a white little rabbit for the model frontier model company. You are exploring use cases for them, right? So, and you cannot always build for the future. You have to making sure you can have enough customer base, enough customer trust, even the revenue or cash part to survive in the current state and also build for the future. So you cannot just build for the future. So that's why I guess we are very passionate. And also back to this learning part. Yeah, if you are very capable building agent, you are have a strong interest. Don't just build at home, build it as your toy project. Join us, right? We really have a big kind of a very nice customer base, very nice funding, a lot of great customer, a great team for you to do this in a very professional way. And you work with other teams. Everyone work very hard to see what's the new way to doing things, actually making sure customer is all happy with their current offering, and they can very looking forward to the new stuff we can offer to them. So it's way more, I would say, the growing rate will be much higher compared to just investigate to try by yourself, because we get a lot of feedback loop. That part is the trust is always hard to gain. Yeah, Cresta spent a lot of effort to making sure we get a good customer from Fortune 100, 200, or even smaller business. Today, everyone can vibe coding something and they can try the new models, but still it's very difficult to let customer to invest their career on Cresta, letting Cresta become their key engine for this AI transformation. So yeah, we are in a good position, and that's also part of the reason I really want to encourage everyone who watching this episode and other episode to considering joining us as FDE.
Yeah. And I mean, we're doing it on the biggest stage, right? Like there's a difference between building a simple chat bot that handles a couple dozen interactions and building agents that, are surviving hundreds of thousands of interactions, right? And still able to adhere and function well and perform well on that scale. So there's no better place to do it.
Okay, cool. I guess some of your audience in TikTok and Instagram can also watch this video, no matter where you still saw that. Maybe also not just linking, we can also share in other channels. We can even do other kind of a social event in SF or virtual. Even maybe next time we can do a live show, right? People can ask spicy questions and we try to cook us during the show. That'll be fun. Again, we are very, it's a very casual way to share our experience, and hopefully those information can help you better understand what kind of stuff we're working on, what that means for AI agent or test eval, and why there's certain challenges. And just give you more data point that is the AI space is very busy. Also, there's a lot of noises. But again, it's very hard to find a place like Cresta to give you a lot of support and a lot of feedback from the customer. And so that we can build an even better AI agent. Today, we spend a lot of effort on the voice. Yeah, maybe after, I don't know, 5 years, there's a lot of interaction is agent to agent. So we don't really have to spend much effort on the voice. But again, as we mentioned earlier, you cannot just build stuff for the future. Today, voice is still a key channel, especially as Kris mentioned, that is for those elder folks, the voice is such a very natural channel. They don't want to use a website on their laptop. They don't even have a laptop. They don't want to use a mobile phone. Everything on the phone is too small. They just want to make a phone call, right? And we need to deliver a good experience for them. And also for those insurance companies, for those finance companies, they can make a customer even more happy by delivering an AI agent using service like Cresta.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, this is almost 5 p.m. in PST on Friday afternoon. I guess many people at that time, office is empty. I so appreciate, Kris, you stay with me and share all your ideas, thoughts. Even you mentioned that is maybe FDE don't need to be technical. I'm not sure whether, I don't think that will be true today, but maybe it will be true half a year or 2 years later, who knows? But again, I'm so glad we have some kind of a brainstorming, share different ideas. And people, if you have different opinions, feel free to leave a comment below. And I guess that will be pretty much for this episode. And looking forward to talk more with FDE people or AI agent developers in this podcast.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Joe.
All right, yeah, I guess I almost finished my coffee, and we should leave some energy for Friday night, do something relaxing. Okay, bye now. Thank you, everyone.